How often do you leave a meeting kicking yourself for saying too much or talking when you should have stopped? I've been coaching leaders for 21 years and I know that this happens a lot. In this video, you will learn how to stop the costly habit of over-explaining and instead speak with the kind of discipline and precision that gets you taken seriously, not just in senior rooms, but anywhere it matters. Let's get into it. First, we need to cover the basic truth behind this problem. People generally don't have the time or the attention to sit through long and winding explanations. And when those people are senior leaders, peers, or decision makers, giving them too much detail is a serious disservice to yourself and your reputation. The obvious reason is that their time is very precious. But there is a second reason that matters just as much, and it's this. They want to know you've done the thinking. They don't want to sit through it. What I want you to understand is this. Brevity in senior rooms is proof of mastery. Where time is money and attention and patience are thin, the person who says exactly enough is considered credible and professional. And I want this to be your reputation too. So let's talk about what you can do to stop the habit of over-explaining once and for all and speak with authority instead. But first, let's be clear what over-explaining actually looks like, because most people who do it don't think they do it. We'll use a simple model to help you remember the mechanism. It's what I call the inverted pyramid. The top is all the arguments and explanations, and the tip is the executive summary, conclusion, or recommendation that is expected of you. You can think of it like this. The wider the top, the more you are over-explaining. The irony is that over-explaining doesn't look like rambling. It looks like being thorough. It looks like covering your bases and considering all the facts. In other words, it looks knowledgeable and competent. Someone asks for your opinion and you give them the background, the context, the alternatives you considered, the caveats, and then, eventually, your actual answer. But what happens in that moment is this. The person listening to all of this stops following your reasoning and starts forming an opinion about you. Not about your answer, about you. And the opinion they're forming is not this person is thorough, but this person can't get to the point. Or even worse, they might be thinking that you are disrespectful because you are wasting their precious time instead of just getting to the point. That's the cost. And this costs you not just in senior rooms, but in any situation where your reputation matters. In a meeting with your team, in a difficult conversation with a peer, in a moment where someone is watching to see how you handle pressure. Let me be clear. Volume does not equal credibility. And the sooner you internalize this, the better for you and your reputation. In my experience of working with managers and senior leaders, I've identified 4 situations where over-explaining might cost you the most. And for each one, I'll show you specifically what to do differently. Let me walk you through all 4. Situation 1. You are asked for your opinion or input. This is one of the most common and most costly moments. Someone senior asks, "What do you think we should do here?" And instead of answering, you start thinking out loud. You lay out all the options. You cover the complexity. You show them you've considered every angle. And by the time you get to your actual recommendation, they've either lost interest or they've concluded you don't really have one. Here's what I want you to do instead. And I call this a cognitive audit. Before you open your mouth, take 2 or 3 seconds and ask yourself, what is my actual point? And what do I want this person to take from my answer? One answer, one outcome. If you can't answer both of those in one sentence, you are not ready to speak yet. You are still deciding. And doing that in front of the people who are actually evaluating your judgment is not a good idea. The right way to act in such a moment is to stop performing the thinking and deliver the conclusion. And if you are really unsure, you can say, knowing what we do right now, my suggestion would be to go with option B. Or, the data is still incomplete, so my recommendation is to wait. This way, you are still sharing your opinion, but you are also flagging the risk. Okay, moving on to situation 2, which is over-explaining when you are confronted or challenged. Imagine that someone pushes back on something you've said. Maybe they're challenging your numbers, your recommendation, or your decision. You know what's going to happen. Most people will start over-explaining. The instinct in those moments is to give more context, more background, more justification. People keep talking because they think that eventually the words will convince the other person. Only chances are they won't. When you over-explain when challenged, you're not defending your position. You're undermining it. You are signaling that you feel the need to convince them because you are not sure you already have. So what actually works? Here, I recommend to apply what I call cognitive discipline. Say 1 or 2 sentences that hit the mark. Something like this. I've looked at this from several angles, and I stand by my recommendation. I can walk you through the details if that's helpful. That's it. You've held your position, and you've offered more if they wanted. But you haven't justified yourself into a corner. And to help you remember this approach, I have another very simple model, this time a normal pyramid, with the wide base at the bottom and the sharp point on top. I call it the executive pyramid. That sharp top is your one precise sentence, and the rest of the pyramid is the supporting argument, more data, etc., whatever they want. By the way, please remember the pyramid models because I'll be coming back to them in more of my videos. But for now, I want you to take this with you. Next time you feel the urge to keep explaining when challenged, stop. Remember that sharp top of the pyramid and say the one thing that matters. Then wait, let it land. And if people want or need more, you can always give them more, no problem. One more thing. Sometimes your one sentence will hit the bull's eye, and all that you will hear after you've said it is silence. That's okay. Learn to accept this silence. That silence is the sound of someone who doesn't need to keep talking to feel secure. Not to mention that people might need a moment to come to terms with the truth and weight of what you just said. Okay, I hope you're getting the hang of it now. Just to recap, so far you've already learned 2 things that will help you stop over-explaining: the cognitive audit and cognitive discipline. And you've learned the 2 visual models illustrating the over-explaining problem and the cognitive discipline that is the solution to it. Now we'll go to the 3rd situation where over-explaining is counterproductive and costly. And that's when you are asked to justify your decision. This one trips up a lot of high performers and experts. Someone asks, why did you go with that approach? And they launch into the full Genesis story. The situation before the decision, all the variables, the reasoning process, the complexity of the context. And unfortunately, Well, you might be thinking that you are helping them understand your reasoning. What the other person hears is someone who is defensive and someone who is explaining themselves, even if everything they're saying is completely valid. Here's what to do instead. Lead with the outcome or the principle, not the history. I call this bottom line up. Here's what this can look like. We needed a decision that would hold under two different scenarios. This is the only one that does. Again, just one sentence. If they want to know more, they will ask. And when they do ask, you give them the next layer, not everything at once. Think of it this way. Senior decision makers are not interested in how the sausage was made. They're interested in whether you are confident in the quality of the sausage you are serving them. Show them that confidence by not justifying your decision before they've even questioned it. Situation 4, when you might tend to over-explain, is when you are delivering feedback or a difficult message. This one shows up everywhere, with your team, with peers, in performance conversations, basically anywhere where you expect pushback or negative consequences. That's where over-explaining takes a very specific form that I call stage setting. Stage setting sounds like this. So I wanted to talk to you today, and first I want to say that I really value your contribution, and I know you've been working hard, and this isn't a reflection of that, but I've been thinking about how to raise this, and I wasn't sure how to frame it, and I want you to know that this comes from a good place. And then eventually the actual message. And yes, that's the inverted pyramid situation again. What we achieve by stage setting are two things. First, we dilute the message so much that the other person can barely hear it. And second, we make them feel like they should be worried about something because of how long it takes us to get to the point. And if you worry that getting to the point right away is abrupt or unkind, try to remember what Professor Brené Brown, an expert in human connection, said. Clear is kind. Unclear is unkind. Burying the point in verbose stage setting is definitely unkind, not to mention cowardly. You have a job to do, and that is telling that person in front of you something they need to hear. So pluck your courage, say it with as much neutral clarity as you can, and focus on solution together with that person. That is kind. Okay, so I hope you're ready now to try the bottom line technique again, because that's our solution to stage setting. Start with your point and not the apology for having it. You can say something like this. I want to talk about something I've noticed in the last few weeks, specifically that you are late for team meetings. Others have noticed too, so I'd like to address it early and give you a chance to explain. Keep it direct, specific, respectful. No preamble. And watch what happens. The conversation becomes clearer. The other person can actually respond, and you come across as someone who takes these moments seriously enough not to waste them. So what do these 4 situations have in common? In every one of them, the over-explaining comes from the same place, not having decided before speaking what you are there to say and what you are prepared to leave out. Because what you choose to leave out is not a sign of incompetence, but rather a proof that you've already done the thinking and you are delivering the conclusion, not the whole process. That decision made in advance is what I call cognitive discipline. It's the ability to stay clear under pressure, to choose your words with intention rather than scramble for the right thing to say in the right moment. I'm going to do a dedicated video on cognitive discipline soon because it goes much deeper than this, but for now, that's the idea. So the point for today is this. You don't build that discipline by trying harder in the moment. You build it by deciding ahead what your one clear message is, and then trusting that you can represent yourself and your team with confidence and clarity in moments of scrutiny, challenge, or stress. Okay, before we wrap up, let's bring it all together. Over-explaining is not a knowledge problem. You know your stuff. And it's not just a clarity problem. You can be completely clear in your head and still over-explain because of anxiety, fear of being misunderstood, or the pressure of the moment. Over-explaining is a mix of clarity and discipline problems. The habit of dragging the audience through all the thinking that got you there. So if you want to stop over-explaining, start by saying less, clearer, and with more precision. That is a learnable skill. And you've just started learning how to do this better with this video. If you want to work on this directly with me, book a strategy session through the link below. That's exactly the kind of work I do with my clients in companies like Amazon, Disney, or Salesforce. And if this is the kind of practical field-tested coaching you're looking for, subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next video.